Welcome back to the Deification and Supremacy Tournament. This is Division 2. Thanks for watching. As you no doubt have noticed, I've added a webcam feature, so now you can see me, but you get to remain anonymous. So that will be fun. So I set this up in the Division 1 video, but this tournament includes rulers, Buddhas, messiahs, and Mahdis. And if you need to go into more detail on that, again, that's the Division 1. So let's just jump into Division 2. And again, what I'm doing is going through two different matchups and then taking the bracket out. So we will end in the Sweet 16 with these first two matchups. So first we have Saint Innocent I versus Moses of Crete, and Muhammed comes onto the scene versus Wu Zetian, possibly. Probably shouldn't have tried that, so I will try to remember to skip the ones that I don't think I have any chance of pronouncing correctly. Sometimes I spend some time and try to learn the correct pronunciation, and sometimes I just kind of skip over it. Like I did all these profiles like 2 weeks ago, so I'm going to be a little bit, let's just say I'm not going to remember a whole lot. So this will be kind of, not really like the first time, but sort of. For some of these guys anyway, mostly guys. There is a female later on down in the list. Actually, the Wu Zetian, the one I couldn't pronounce just now, will be the second woman in the tournament so far. But this is Pope Saint Innocent I. Obviously, Roman Catholic, died in 417. I don't have a birth year. Began the papacy in the year 401, December 22nd. So he is a powerful champion of papal supremacy. So that's the beginnings of the infallible pope, which is why he is here. And the entire church upheld St. John Chrysostom and condemned Pelagius. I'm not a historian, so hopefully some of you vainly tried to prevent the sack of Rome in 410 by the Visigoths. Oh yeah, so the sack of Rome occurred on August 24th, 410 AD, while he was pope. The city was attacked, led by King Alaric. At that time, Rome was no longer the capital of the Western Roman Empire. This was the first time in almost 800 years that Rome had fallen to a foreign enemy. So, yeah, that's the beginnings of papal supremacy, apparently. Irony. Versus Moses of Crete. Unsuccessful conclusion of the Bar Kokhba, which was the final contender in Division 1 versus Jesus. He lost to Jesus, obviously. Put an end for a while to the Messianic movements. But Moses of Crete came along in around this time. Let's see. This guy was kind of weird. Isn't this the guy that disappeared or something? This expectation in connection with the disturbances in the Roman Empire attendant upon invasions may have raised up hopes of the Messiah. Moses of Crete appeared about this time and won over many Jews to his movement. He promised to lead the people, like the ancient Moses, dry-shod through the sea back to Israel. In about 440 to 470, his followers, convinced by him, left their possessions and waited for the promised day, when, at his command, many cast themselves into the sea to return to Israel. Many found death, while others were rescued. Fugitive Messiah himself disappeared. Socrates of Constantinople states that Moses of Crete fled, while the Chronicle of Jean Nicky claims that he perished in the sea. While he called himself Moses, chronicles give his actual name as Fiscus. And I could not find a picture of this guy, but yeah, so he led a bunch of his fellow Jews into the sea, expecting them to part. They didn't, and many of them drowned. It's not the guy I was thinking of, but wow. All right, so the next matchup, Muhammad and Islam appears. According to Islamic doctrine, he was the prophet, sent to preach and confirm the monotheistic teaching preceded by Adam, Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and other prophets. Also, it's the 4th of July weekend, or it's coming up, so you're probably going to hear some explosions in the background. We are the home of the free, the land of the brave. So that's just what happens. I keep forgetting the camera's up here. I'm still looking at my screen. Sorry about that. So, Muhammad united Arabia into a single Muslim polity with the Quran, as well as his teachings and practices forming the basis of Islamic religious belief. This was around 570. He died in 632, aged 62. This is his symbol inscribed in the gates of the mosque in Medina. Medina is actually, arguably, just as important as Mecca. So, at the very beginning, the followers were few in number and experienced hostility from the Meccan polytheist. He and his followers migrated from Mecca to Medina. In 622, Muhammad united the tribes under the Constitution of Medina. In December 629, after 8 years of intermittent fighting with the Meccan tribes, Muhammad gathered an army of 10,000 Muslim converts and marched on the city of Mecca. The conquest went largely uncontested. Muhammad seized the city with little bloodshed. In 632, a few months after returning from the farewell pilgrimage, he fell ill and died. By the time of his death, most of the Arabian Peninsula had converted to Islam. Yeah, so a very rapid expansion following the takeover of Mecca. Yeah, so now you can see when I'm drinking water. Muhammad is versus Wu Zetian, or Wu Chao. And she is a very interesting story for a female in China. The only ruling female emperor in the history of China and founder of her own dynasty, the Second Chao Dynasty, ruled under the name Emperor Xin, gained popular support by advocating Buddhism, but ruthlessly persecuted her opponents within the royal family by cutting off their arms and legs and inserting them into jars. She proclaimed herself an incarnation of Maitreya and made Liaoyang holy capital. So this is not your typical probably manifestation of Buddha. Not at all. So she married into the royal family. She was a charismatic and well-educated woman. Her husband was very dedicated to her. She became influential in the court. And she became very politically active. The real power behind the throne. So after her husband's death, Empress Wu and Empress Dowager, whatever that is, so they're marking like her succession over here. If you can see the years, she died in 705 aged 81. But yeah, she was essentially empress for 15 years of her own dynasty, which she founded. It's a short-lived dynasty, but nonetheless, um, yeah, she gained power, seized the throne, becoming the only female ever in Chinese history to do so. So, I mean, it's gonna be tough to do this, but unfortunately, I still have to give this to Muhammad. So this one's kind of tough. I think just because of the crazy factor, we're gonna have to give this to Moses of Crete. Saint Innocent the First. He just advocated for supremacy, really. So he never clearly didn't achieve it, since he was Pope when Rome fell, or technically when it was sacked by the Goths. So yeah, we're gonna go with that. And then, even though it's kind of a silly story, clearly Muhammad is going to be the winner here. So he moves on to Sweet 16, and now we move on to our next matchups, which we have. Yeah, so you're going to find there's going to be quite a few Mahdis now that Islam has emerged. So that's what this Ishaq bin Yaqub, I'll just say Obadiah, versus the Natchez. We have Selindra versus Salih bin Tarif. So let's move on to the next two. Yeah, so I don't have an actual image of him, but this is, well, this guy is from the story. This is like, I think the leader of the caliphate. Who led a revolt in Persia against Umayyad Caliph. Yes, he led a revolt against this guy. Declared himself to be the Messiah. Some of his followers. Oh, so this is, never mind. This is not. This is a Jewish Messiah. This is not. I have it green here. That's my color code for the Jewish Messiah. The Mahdis are yellow, and rulers are pink. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. Something added on this. Hopefully, I remembered to do it all. Anyway, okay, so he never claimed to be the Messiah. Some of his followers felt that he would return after his death and bring the end times. He made some minor alterations to the general set of rabbinic laws. His followers became aesthetic in their manners. The most radical of the Israelite beliefs was the acceptance of both Jesus and Muhammad as true prophets, but only to their own peoples. So he's kind of sort of trying to do the Baha'i thing, maybe a little bit, or kind of this. I don't know. I don't want to say. Actually, it's kind of similar to what Muhammad was trying, merging all the prophets into one religion with him at the head of it. Seems to be a lot of that. But he will be versus the Natchez. This was, I believe, an American, yeah, from the Mississippian culture, the lower Mississippi Valley. I have a year. Okay, so 1731 was a French encounter. They captured a fort. Between 75 and 250 Natchez warriors escaped and found refuge among the Chickasaw. The young great son and about 100 of his followers were captured, subsequently enslaved, and shipped to work French plantations in the Caribbean. So that is the end of the God King ruled by the great son. Um, spoke a language with no known close relatives. This is a drawing. from 1758, so not too long after their initial encounters, for whatever that's worth. Second matchup, we have another Maitreya from Buddhism. Sailendra, I think this was a series of, traditionally 8th to the 9th centuries. Suggests a longer period from 7th century to early 11th century. So, let's see. King of the Mountain is the name of a notable Indianized dynasty that emerged in 8th century Java, whose reign signified a cultural renaissance in the region. Active promoters of Mahayana Buddhism, with the glimpses of Hinduism uncovered Kedu Plain of central Java with Buddhist monuments, one of which, this is the colossal Borobudur, now a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So it kind of fizzled out somewhere in the 9th to 11th century. It's kind of a tradition of Mahayana. Covered that in the religious sects video in the History of Reality 101. And Mahayana believe that anyone can achieve liberation. So you can do that during your lifetime. You don't need to be like a priest or shaman type figure in Buddhism. So that is the Sailendra they are facing off against. Here we have an Islamic Mahdi, Salih bin Tarif. So in 744, went away at the age of 47, promising to return. So is this the guy that disappeared? Maybe there's a couple of them that disappeared. Proclaimed himself prophet of a new religion in the 8th century. He appeared during the caliphate of Umayyad, I don't know how you pronounce it, Hisham bin Abd al-Malik. According to bin Khaldun's sources, he claimed receiving a new revelation from God called a Quran, written in the Berber language with 80 chapters. He established laws for his people, which called him restorer of the believers and the final Mahdi. So this is like almost identical to what Muhammad did. Islamic literature considers his belief heretical, as several tenets of his teaching contrast with Orthodox Islam, such as capital punishment for theft, unlimited wives, unlimited divorces, fasting a month of Rajab instead of Ramadan, and 10 obligatory daily prayers instead of 5. So yes, all of that is heretical. Obviously, no image available. There's like a string of these. But I think that rounds out the next 2 matchups. So let's see on this. This one, I think. I don't know. They kind of it wasn't really that long of a run for these Sailendras. So I think I'm gonna give it to this guy. Sorry, this thing is bouncing around a lot. And then on this one, I think I'm gonna give it to him just because his followers. No, you know what? I'm gonna go with the Natchez on this and Sailendra. I'm gonna do the exact opposite of what I was thinking just a second ago. Just because these are 2 individuals that really just kind of failed to become the prophets or the new prophets of their respective religions, while these others established whole kind of lasting societies around it. Then this one, I do think I'm going to give it to the Natchez. Since, I don't know, I guess it's probably more just because of lack of data on the full cylinder story. But I'm going to do it that. And then it doesn't really matter anyway because they face off against Muhammad, and Muhammad is the clear winner here. Obviously, a tournament favorite. He moves on to the Elite Eight, so he will face off of whoever comes out of the bottom of Division 2. So let's move on to that. And we have Abdallah bin Muawi. Wow, that's probably not right. How about Abdallah versus Muhammad bin al-Hassan? So how about al-Hassan and Abdallah? In the second matchup, Gung Ye versus al-Hakim. I have to squint at it to figure out how to pronounce it. Maybe it helps. Okay, so Abdallah, hello. See, this is the cat I was talking about during the channel update. Okay, so Abdallah, from around 747 CE, or perhaps that's his death, I guess we'll find out. Yeah, so he was defeated by the Caliph armies in 746 to 747. One of those 2 years. He allegedly died imprisoned by Abu Muslim, his rival. His followers did not believe his death and said that he went to occultation and he would return as Mahdi. So he managed to control the west of Iran for 2 years. Led a revolt. So it sounds like his followers declared him, not necessarily himself. He's facing off against al-Hassan about 100 years later in 869. He was born, died, aged 4. Oh, this is the guy that disappears. This is a really interesting one. So, more commonly called Muhammad al-Mahdi. How do you like that for a name? He's named Muhammad and also named the Mahdi. He's the 12th Imam. Oh yeah, he's considered the 12th Imam of 12 Shia Islam, which is a major sect of Islam. He is believed by 12 Shia Muslims to be the Mahdi, an ultimate savior of humankind, and the final Imam of the 12 Imams. Al-Mahdi was born in 869 and did not die, but rather was hidden by God, referred to as the occultation, will later emerge with Isa, or Jesus, in order to fulfill their mission of bringing peace and justice to the world. He assumed the imamate at 5 years of age. Some Shiite schools do not consider bin Hassan to be Mahdi, although the mainstream scholars do. He disappeared at that time, yeah, so that's referred to as the occultation. But he is, so this already happened. The Savior of the world has come. But still waiting on him to emerge at a later time, I guess. He faces off again. Or no, so this is, did it again. So this is the second matchup. Gung Ye, another Buddhist Maitreya, ruled from 901 to 918, the year of their death. Was a Korean. Oh, this guy's crazy. Okay, the Korean warlord and king of the short-lived state Taiban during the 10th century, claimed to be the living incarnation, as I said, ordered his subjects to worship him. His claim was rejected by most Buddhist monks, and later he was dethroned and killed by his own servants, soldier and peasants who soldier or peasants I think there's some controversy around his death, who mistook him for a thief. Some scholars explain his self-proclamation as Buddha as an attempt to strengthen his power, since he, as a royal family member, had no influence over powerful local landlords and merchants, so he tried to use the power of religion in order to keep his rule, which did not prove. Yeah. So it's just sort of an authoritarian Buddha. Yeah, it's all happened. He faces off against Abdullah al-Mahdi Billah, possibly no image available. Again, Caliph of the Fatimid dynasty from 909 to 11. What? Really? That makes no sense. Reign 909 to 934. Okay, there we go. So this is the length of the dynasty, the duration. Confused myself for a second. Died age 61 in 934. First caliph of the Fatimid state. He was one of only 2 claimants who succeeded in establishing the states. We got another guy below. So that's something to his credit. His preacher helped secure for him parts of North Africa, using the support of the Berber locals. Later built Cairo as capital in Egypt, and their descendants continued to rule as caliphs. That took over Egypt and ended the Fatimids. Oh, okay, so until Salahuddin took over, also called Saladin, took over Egypt and ended the Fatimid state. He imprisoned the last Fatimid caliph and his family in the Fatimid palace. So yeah, this guy basically established an Islamic caliph, a dynasty. He was the first ruler, also considered Mahdi. So that's not too bad, not too bad. He faces off against Gangi. That's going to be a tough one. But I don't know. Let's say we look at the length of their reign. So reign here is about 25 years. Reign here is about 17. So there you go. Let's do it that way. And then this one, I gotta give this one to the guy that disappeared. So, sorry, the child. Geez, who knows what happened to him, right? But he will apparently come again, so all is well. So yeah, that goes to Muhammed al-Mahdi, the disappearing child. And this one, what did I say? Oh yeah, so Gung Yi loses because of the length of their reign. And then this guy also established a state that lasted for a while, so that seems to make sense there. On this one, I think since this state was defeated, there's ultimately no more. I'm gonna have to give this again to Muhammad al-Mahdi. So he moves on to the Sweet 16. Now we are at the last 2 matchups. Finish off Division 2. We'll see who is going to face off against Muhammad for that final 4 spot. So let's get into it. Last 4. We have a couple Mahdis right off the bat here. Yeah, and I obviously, obviously, but all of these, well, pretty much all of these guys, I think maybe I heard something about the 12er kid. That sort of ring a bell. I was not, but really I'm not familiar with any of these guys. Mahdis, really the Jewish messiahs too. And gotta be honest, pretty much the Buddhists too. So I guess the rulers was the only ones that really had a chance at knowing beforehand. Just to give you an idea where I was at before this tournament. But let's get into these next two Mahdis. Again, I just try to pick out some kind of interesting details. Obviously, remember for the Jesus tournament, I didn't put this much information in there. I just kind of glanced over each profile. I went a little more in depth on this one. Just because I was reading this stuff anyway, so that's the only reason. Well, let's close this Division 2 out. So, Al-Hakim bi Amr Allah, literally the ruler by the order of God. It's the sixth Fatimid Caliph. I don't know if I'm saying that right. That was the Caliph from the previous couple matchups. So he ruled. I've got it. Yeah, I've got his reign from 996 to 1021. So yeah, that is what these numbers are. And he died the year his rule ended. So you already know where this is going. He's an important figure in a number of Shia Ismaili religions, such as the world's 15 million Zaris, in addition to the 2 million Druze of the Levant, whose eponymous founder Ad-Darazi proclaimed him as the incarnation of God in 1018, believed by the Druze to be in occultation and due to return as Mahdi on Judgment Day. The final years of his reign, he displayed a growing inclination towards asceticism and withdrew from meditation regularly. One night at the age of 35, he left for one of his journeys to the Muqattam Hills outside Cairo and never returned. A search only found his donkey and bloodshed garments. The disappearance has remained a mystery, though it is likely that his sister arranged for his assassination, being opposed to his intolerant politics. Yeah, I was right. There was a couple people that disappeared in this one. So that's that guy. So that occultation thing is pretty common. But this guy, like it said, there was possibly up to 17 million followers. That's pretty good compared to some of these other guys who their movements, cults, religions, or whatever you want to say, are extinct. Basically, now history. All right, so let's get to the last two ones. We have Bin Tumart, Al-Imam al-Mahdi, Muhammed bin Tumart. Born 1080 and died somewhere in the 1128 to 1130 range. A Berber, Moroccan Muslim Berber religious scholar, teacher, and political leader from the Souss region in southern Morocco. Founded and served as the spiritual and first military leader of the Almohad movement, a puritanical reform movement launched among the Mazmuda Berbers of the Atlas Mountains, launched an open revolt against the ruling Almoravids during the 1120s. After his death, his followers, the Almohads, went on to conquer much of North Africa and part of Spain. So yeah, that's not insignificant. Made it in Europe, much of North Africa. He faces off against the Majapahit kings. This is the Javanese rulers, Southeast Asia's largest ever kingdom. So this is going to be mostly an island nation. made up of many islands in Indonesia. After death, they were depicted as Hindu gods. Their rule lasted from 1293 to 1597, so basically 300 years. So a mix of Hindu and just the island nation. Ruler, cult, divination, deification. Raiden Wijaya or Raiden Vijaya, also known as Nara Ra. Sangrama. Oh my god. Wow, I don't think I could live there and pronounce these words. The Javanese king reigned, so his the first rule, 1293 to 1309. History of his founding of the Majapahit was written in several records, so that he does have written records. His rule is marked by the victory against the army and the navy of Kublai Khan's Yuan dynasty. Wow. Yeah, so that's not insignificant either. He founded the reign by defeating the Khan. So that is going to be a tough matchup right here. Wow, let's see. 1120s. Man, I think I'm going to have to go with the Javanese kings on that one. Just for the 300-year reign. That's one of the longer ones in this division. A lot of these Islamic ones have been relatively short-lived. It seems like, I guess this one was 200 years. I guess we'll have to go with the first guy here. Although they were both, this guy was assassinated. These guys, or am I getting this? Go back to the division. Oh yeah, so Zhang He. I've got another contender in here. Oops. So yeah. All right, so yeah, for this first one, it's not the Mahdi versus the Javanese kings. Yeah, so we got to go with this guy up here with the 17 million strong, and not the guy who. Oh, this is the guy. Oh, wow, this one is tougher. Because that's the guy that was killed by ISIS. Wow, I am all mixed up. Okay, so. I still have to go with the guy with the 17 million followers. All right, so let's close this out, and we'll end here with another ruler worshipped by some Chinese and Southeast Asians. Modern monument to Chang He at the State Museum, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so he lived from 1371 to 1433. He was a Chinese mariner, explorer, diplomat, fleet admiral, and court, whatever that is, during China's early Ming Dynasty. He was originally born as a Mahdi in a Muslim family. Oh, okay. And later adopted the surname Ching, conferred by Emperor Yongle, commanded expeditionary treasure voyages to Southeast Asia, Indian subcontinent. According to legend, his larger ships carried hundreds of sailors on 4 decks, almost twice as long as any wooden ship ever recorded. He became a favorite of the emperor. He rose to the top of the imperial hierarchy and served as commander of the southern capital, Jing. And again, he's just worshipped by some Chinese. So, I guess that's an example of one. Yeah, so I guess that's an example of one that is still active today. Oh my god, I can't. He faces off against the Javanese rulers who defeated a Khan. So I think just for fun, I'm going to go with them. And then on this one, it was it the Bin Tamart that, no. Who's the first guy? So, Abdullah al-Mahdi. And he is going to move on as well. So he moves on into the Sweet 16. He faces off against Muhammad al-Mahdi. So we have Abdullah versus Muhammad. And I think just because this guy has so many followers, I don't know, but his guy has the 12er Shia too. And I think his story is interesting. All right, so we'll go with Muhammad versus Muhammad. But of course, we have to go with the original on that one. So the original Muhammad moves on to the Final Four. No surprise, I think Division 2, he was the heavy favorite. One of the only heavyweights in Division 2 when Division 1 was just packed full of them. So that's where we are now. Remember, the end of Division 1 is going to be saved for the finals video. Next up is Division 3, where we start over here with the Dalai Lamas versus the Incan Emperors. Stay tuned for that. What am I missing here? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it really helps out. And yeah, stay tuned for more. Bye now.